Hey guys, happy Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Hopping on a little early today. Um, Heading back downtown to do some stuff after this. And I had a decent amount of questions, so I wanted to start a little bit earlier. So we're gonna start with. I always do this. I want to see who the questions are from. Hang on. Double computers today. I like to make sure that I know who I'm talking to here. Teresa, first question. She was asking about social media and reaching an audience who doesn't follow you. Love that. You're posting on Facebook and Instagram, classes, inspirational, etc., but needs pump. Okay, so here's what I do for that. First of all, tag. Hashtag as much as you can. You want to also put locations, especially on Instagram, when you're posting. Say you're at the studio or you're at the town, because a lot of people search what's going on at that studio or at the town they're in, and then they can find you. People who don't normally follow you might find you. So there's that. A lot of tags, like if you tag, don't just tag basic like fitness, but tag a little bit more specific. Look at what pops up when you search certain hashtags that are related to cycling. See what the most popular ones are. You can usually see that by whatever pops up first, and then use that and tag that. That'll be changing a lot, but tag as much as possible. I usually do a post on Instagram and then I tag in the comments so that your post isn't filled with a bunch of hashtags. So you could do it that way. It also adds a comment, which helps gain traction in the newsfeed. So there's that. Sharing other people's stuff. So if someone came to the studio or came to your class and they post about it, make sure you share it. Definitely be doing Instagram stories. If you could do Instagram lives, that will definitely get people who don't normally watch you to see you, because some people just go and see who's live in their area and they check out what's going on. There's a lot of different things you can do. Also make sure that the studio or the gym that you work at, you can, they're sharing your posts. So maybe you could even message them and ask them to share something about your class, or if you have access to do it yourself, that's awesome too. It's really getting to that new audience, getting to someone who doesn't normally see your stuff like you understand is key. So think about creative ways to do that, but it's really about sharing, tagging, getting as many eyes as you can on your post that might not normally have seen it. Now, it's really hard to track who's seeing your stuff and then showing up to your class. So if you're getting more and more, likes and views, even if they're not necessarily coming to your class, you know that you're growing. You're gaining traction in newsfeed. You're gaining traction locally if you're posting and doing those hashtags. So just keep at it. It takes a really long time. Facebook and Instagram are super smart, and they're really good at weeding out posts that people don't want to see. So you got to make it valuable stuff. Don't just say, come to my class. Add some value there. Maybe teach them something. So the benefits of cycling, or what you could do, maybe a good quote, something like that. You got to add value, and that'll make people stick and come back. So hopefully that was helpful, Teresa. Let me know if you have other questions on social media. Elena was asking about bike maintenance. 12 to 15-year-old spin bikes and you're struggling with them. Not surprising. If that's a studio where you have multiple classes a day, that is super old for those bikes. If you had that bike at home and you were just riding on it and it was your own, it might be able to last that long and still be in good shape, but it's very rare for a belt bike, not a magnetic bike, to last that long and still be in really good shape. So I'm not surprised. 2 bikes you said with clips flying out. See, so it's getting to the point where they're dangerous. I would talk to your manager. I think you said a manager is being a bit of a tightwad. That's awesome. I get it. I mean, bikes are super expensive, right? They don't want to have to deal with it. Usually gyms lease them so that after 5 years they can get a round of new bikes. We just got brand new bikes and I'm loving them, but we were definitely due for them. So once it gets to a point where stuff is dangerous, you really got to pressure your manager. Maybe make it clear that people will get hurt if you continue to ride on those bikes, because then they don't want that liability, right? So just make it clear that it's not just annoying, it's actually dangerous. With clips falling out, handlebars falling down, that's legitimately dangerous. So it's really, I mean, those bikes are old. General maintenance, I mean, keeping the bikes clean, getting the sweat off them is honestly like the biggest part. If you have a belt bike, there's a little bit more wear and tear. So if you have like a Kaiser, those tend to last a little bit longer because they're magnetic, but both need to be cleaned thoroughly very often, especially if you're running a lot of classes a day. We have a maintenance guy on call because we're still under warranty, and he comes into the studio once every couple weeks to fix bikes. If there's batteries in the monitor, those have to be changed and swapped out. I'm sure you're familiar with that. There's just a lot that can go wrong with bikes. They're getting better, but they're also getting more technology with them, and the technology, as we know, tends to mess up on us. So the pedals are key. I mean, if you're having issues with the pedals and people's feet are slipping out, that is super dangerous. The handlebars, also key. Seat, key. You have to have a bike that at minimum, it can screw in and get tight for the handlebars and the seat, and the pedals are safe. Other than that, I mean, if it's a little squeaky, you can deal with that, I guess. But again, let your manager know that it is now a dangerous situation and people could get hurt. And then maybe that would hopefully trigger them to get either new bikes or get someone in there to assess them and see if they're even rideable anymore. But yeah, I know it's a pain in the butt. They're expensive though. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars depending on how many you're getting. So it can be a big expense that a gym will push off as much as they can, and it's annoying. I get it. Do your best with that, and just if a bike is so dangerous that someone shouldn't be riding on it and your manager isn't doing anything about it, just put a note on there yourself. You don't want people getting on there and then having something happen under your watch. So keep people off those bikes. Check them before you start class. Okay. The big question, do I use weights on a bike? So I've talked about weights on a bike a couple times in general. I know it's a touchy subject, especially for you traditional riders out there, which I used to be one of, and I still am, more or less. I do. Short answer, I do. So personally, I'll tell you guys my story. I started out Mad Dog Spinning certified, super kind of one of those people that you'll see in the other Facebook groups, which I get, very gung-ho about traditional riding. You ride your bike inside like you would outside. That was my mindset for a very long time. I was very close-minded. I was very judgmental about people who didn't do that, for the dancing on the bikes and the weights on the bikes. I was like, oh, hell no, right? I get it. A lot of you are probably that way. Hey, Becky, this is your question. So I totally understand that mindset, and I am going to let you guys choose that if that's what you choose. I have the mindset when it comes to really anything in my life that I can't be super against it and super dogmatic about anything until I personally give it the good old try, college try, if you will. So I committed to giving it a chance. For a month, I took 2 classes a week where I was doing choreo on a bike and I was using a weight. So at the end of it, I realized that done a certain way, it is not so dangerous as you would think. So think about it this way. If I can hold myself up out of the saddle in third, my core is strong enough to do that, right? That's not easy. If I can do that, I can sit up on a bike and hold a 4-pound weight in my hand, right? It might not be the most effective. Now, that's the other question. Is it effective? It's not going to get you ripped. I'll tell you that right now. And your riders will know that. If they don't, just let them live in ignorance. I try to educate. I do my best. But sometimes it's just a little bit of a way to mix up class. It can definitely be challenging. So as a trainer, I can tell you that the way that you grow with weights is you make it harder by either adding weight, making it heavier, or adding frequency, more volume, right? So if I'm doing more reps instead of adding more weight, so yeah, it's a 4-pound bar, but if we're going straight for 5 minutes, you're going to get tired. They're going to get sore. They're going to want to drop the bar. It is doing something. It might not be bulking you up, but it's still adding to the workout in a different way. Again, let me back up. There are a lot of studios that use weights in a way that I would not ever do. I would never stand up out of the saddle with weights in my hand. I would never go crazy so much that people are almost falling off of their seats. I would never go so wide that people are going to punch each other in the face, right? There are certain things that you've got to be very careful of. But, you know, sitting there doing some biceps, just holding I do a lot of isolation stuff. So we're just holding a position, which is very challenging. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So again, yes, Becky, I personally do. Part of that, honestly, is a product of the fact that I work for a place that requires me to do so. I will tell you that I didn't until I worked for CycleBar. So it took a long time for me to get used to kind of the new age form of spinning or indoor cycling. I've grown to find my own way to do it that I'm comfortable with, that I think is safe, that I think is fun, that I think is different and exciting. But I totally get, again, that some people are not comfortable with this. I've never seen anyone get hurt, at least the way CycleBar does things. I can't say that for every indoor cycling studio out there, but there are ways to do it that work. So if you're someone who wants to do it and you have fun doing it, just make sure you find a way that you're comfortable with, that you think people can handle, and nobody's going to get hurt, and go for it. This is the world we live in. We're all going to have different opinions on this. I think it's just you got to go with what feels good in your gut, what you're comfortable doing on the bike, what you're comfortable teaching and instructing. And if you want to stick to the traditional stuff, that's all up to you. If you want to go a little new age, do it. Just find a way that you're good with. So I've talked about this before. I know a lot of you will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Again, this group is all about opening up your mind and communicating. We're all going to be a little bit different. That's the beauty of the indoor cycling world, is that every instructor is unique. So just, I ask, if you're going to comment on this, I ask that you be respectful of each other, and you just, you know, you don't need to force somebody to see what you see, right? We can all do our own thing and still live in harmony, even in this world that we live in right now, which is a little crazy. Anyways, so that's my take on it. If you have more questions for me, why I think that way or how specifically I do things, happy to go into detail. Took me a while, again, to get comfortable with my own way, so I'm happy to explain that. Last question was how I start a class profile. So I get this question a lot. It's why I created the Cycle Poet Method training course. It's why I posted the class profile bundle, which you can get all that on my website. It's really hard to kind of summarize everything into one, but I would just say that how I start is the most important part. So coming up with two things before I start every class profile, and this is what the Cycle Poet Method is. I come up with what I want the ride to look like physically. What's the terrain? What is kind of going to go on between the 45 minutes or 60 minutes that I have in terms of the ride. And then I combine that with the emotional theme of the day. So how I'm feeling. So today I taught 2 classes this morning, and they were all about being thankful and grateful for the bodies that we have and the strength that we have and the capabilities that we have, because as you guys know, a lot of you, especially if you're on my email list, you know I've been in and out of the hospital with a family member for the last few weeks. And if I've learned anything, it's that we have to be grateful for our health, because it's not always going to be there. I'm going to say that again. We have to be grateful for our health and our bodies, because it's not always going to be that way. Take advantage of it, be proud of it, embrace it, allow your riders to feel that, because when we take a step back and we're grateful for those things, a little workout doesn't seem so bad, right? So that was kind of, in general, that was kind of my emotional theme for the day. And that is what that's how I picked my music. That's how I decided when I was going to strike some inspiration in my class. So it's combining those two, the terrain and the emotional theme, the physical and the emotional, and creating my class. And that's always where I start. with those basics. And then I go into picking my songs and seeing how everything fits together. So Becky, there's a lot more to that. Again, I talk about it all in the Psycho Poet method. If you want more specific questions, let me know, but I really think it might help you, if this was helpful, to check out that course. It's at least read the details. Maybe it's something that would be helpful for you. Becky said, thanks for being vulnerable and sharing. We are the same in our approach. I agree. It takes understanding, knowing your participants, and practicing in a safe way. Good, Becky, I'm glad. And we won't be alone, I'm sure. There's plenty of other people who would agree with us on the way that we run our classes, going back to the weights and the choreo and all that. So that is it for me. I've talked probably your ear off at this point, so I'm going to head out. If you guys have any other questions, and I just want to say to anyone who's on my email list, I got a lot of really thoughtful, kind emails. I appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot to me. This community is amazing. You guys are amazing. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.